Hello and welcome to NHL Best Bets. Last night there were five good games, and let's go through the picks that we had. Here you can see those. We had LA Kings against Anaheim in the local rivalry there. Kings were this time clearly better team. They won 5-1 and good pick for us. Minus 120 odds on the road for the LA Kings. Then Minnesota Vegas, another game. We picked that game 2 nights ago for home team win. That was a good pick again, but this time we selected under 5.5 goals, and as end result was 4-3. That went over, and naturally, if one team scores after 19 seconds in a game, it's not very good start for your under bet. But do you think, Tommy, the game was over as DNA, or was it still something that you would bet again?
Yeah, like you said, 19 seconds in and first goal, so it did look quite bad for in the beginning. But then things evened out, and it was for 2 periods pretty close game, 1-1 after 2. So it was an going under. But then something happened with the Vegas goaltending and the defense, and Minnesota scored 3 goals in a short succession, or in about 5 minutes. Again, it did look still fine. Okay, 4-1, let it be, but that wasn't the case. So this youngster defenseman decided to score a hat trick in his, I think it was an NHL debut. So 5 goals in the final period, and that's it for our under bet. But it did look a lot like it was going under. So I would make this bet again with these goaltenders, both very good. Now a little bit bad beat for Fleury in the third period, but a good win for the simulation, who had Minnesota as a favorite. So Minnesota won the game 4-3. So half correct, but our pick, of course, sadly did not hit this target. But we compensated in the other game. Then in California, it was a clear thing that Kings was a lot better team. Now they got production from other guys as well, not only the top veterans they have. So there was a couple of guys from the lower line scoring goals, 1-5, clear result. Nothing to put in question there. Anaheim a little bit disappointing, maybe in a home game to lose like this to their closest rivals, but this happens. But yeah, good pick from us. Sadly, we got a little bit red in the overall column, but let's keep it green from now on.
Yeah, there were some other games that were not so tight this time. Edmonton beat Ottawa 7-1, and Montreal did the same for Vancouver with the goals 5-1. Can you see clear difference in the level of these teams, like Edmonton against Ottawa and Montreal against Vancouver, or was this just one night success for these winners?
Yeah, I think overall the teams that won big this time are better teams. There is no question about it. But in the long run, when you get these sort of playoff type series, these better teams will get the wins. Of course, the difference of 5 goals, 4 goals, maybe not that much. But of course, when you take a look at Edmonton's roster, for example, and compare it to Ottawa's, if Edmonton is not winning, something's gone wrong. So that's the case here. And now Edmonton put Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid in the same line. So I don't know. I don't want to be a defenseman who tries to stop those two in the same time. Of course, it then hinders a little bit the rest of the line. So it's a choice that they have to do in Edmonton, either to put these two super guys in the same line or play them separately. But in this case, of course, it worked. It was an important win for Edmonton. Last game against Ottawa, a lot closer, only 1-goal game. So a little bit a questionable win. And now clearly a better team. So a good win for Edmonton. And now also similar thing in Montreal after changing the head coach, a little bit up and down team. But they are a better team than Vancouver, not by much, but a good win for them as well.
And when we speak about super lines, Colorado line, McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, maybe the super line in the league, but they haven't been able to score too much. And now last 2 games against Arizona have been very tight. This time they won 2-1, and Arizona goalie, another Finn, Antti Raanta, has taken few saves during these two games. I think he have faced over 80 shots together, and only 4 goals in these games. So he has been maybe the reason why the Superline hasn't been able to score more than a few goals in last 2 games.
Yeah, definitely the way that Arizona plays, it relies on the goaltender to take the saves, and Arizona is scoring with a quite good proficiency, and they don't need a lot of chances to create the goals that they need. But 1 goal against Colorado isn't usually enough to win the game. Now it was really close, but like you said, a little bit disappointing from the offense-heavy Colorado team. Not a lot of production. Of course, McKinnon maybe a little bit not quite fit yet, and some issues in there as well. But yeah, one of the disappointments this season has been the offense of Colorado, that we've been expecting to start scoring goals and winning these games 5-3 and all these scores. But now it's more of these grinding wins against a bit worse teams than Colorado is. But I do think that they will get going. If you take a look deeper into the statistics, Colorado is creating chances, one of the most chances in the NHL. So they only need to start scoring, and it will turn better for them.
Yeah, Colorado should be better than overtime 2-1 victory against Arizona if they are looking for Stanley Cup success this season. Tonight there's more games. Train goes more to the east again with the full slate of games, over 10 games, and we have selected again few that we want to highlight here as daily picks. Chicago continues their road trip in Dallas. They were beaten last time 6-1, but now our boy Kevin Lankinen should start in Chicago's goal, and Dallas is or has been this season very famous for their roller coaster type of performance. So we expect them to settle down after the previous big numbered win, and Chicago should have a chance to take over. I think Dallas is still very close underdog here. It's more like 50-50 game, but the odds 129 plus for Chicago is very good to bet. Then Washington plays in Philly. They won previous game when these two teams played 4 nights ago, 3-1, and they seem to be better team in good shape here. Another plus odds 102 this time for a road team, and that provides good value for maybe a notch better team than Philadelphia. But this is another very even game. No surprise if this goes to overtime as well.
Yeah, close games expected, both of these. With the odds again clearly in the positive for Chicago. Of course, Chicago lost massively 6-1 last time around. It was Malcolm Subban in the goal. Not the best performance from him, but Chicago also only scored 1 goal. So you rarely win games if you score 1. So they have to do a lot better this time. But I think that Chicago is this sort of team that will bounce back. They know that they can beat Dallas. They did so already twice in overtime in Dallas. 1-2 was the score then. So I think this will be more like those previous games than the last game that Dallas was, especially offensively. Like we discussed, they got their pace going. They were supported really well offensively by their defensemen and supported the offense there. So they did overrun Chicago. I think a lot of video again from Chicago to see how to stop this offense and hit back with a counter-attack, with a solid defense, and with Kevin Lankinen in the net. I think with these plus odds, Chicago is a good pick. And then the other game, the Eastern, let's say, rivalry as well, because all the games seem to be rivalries this year. Washington versus Philly in Philadelphia. Washington, a tad better team. They have had their issues, of course, like a lot of these teams that have seen a lot of success now have some struggles. Pittsburgh Penguins, Colorado as well, St. Louis Blues as they're up and down. So Washington also had a bad beat during this season, but they have done better now, play a lot more solid than they did early in the season. And Philadelphia, on the other hand, has had weird issues in the goal again. Carter Hart played magnificently well early on the season, now a little bit shaky. Against Buffalo, a couple of bad goals. Let's see if it's Brian Elliott or Carter Hart starting for Philadelphia Flyers. But still, I think Washington has a better chance of winning this game, and the simulations do agree, if only by a couple of percent. It's about 50-50 game in our papers, but as we saw, we get plus odds for Washington. So let's go with the Capitals, and I do think that they're able to score a couple of goals against either of these Philly keepers.
If you are looking for some kind of sure bets that never exist in sports betting, there are tonight a few teams that have very, very high win probability, especially on the road. If we think Tampa plays in Detroit, maybe the best team right now against the worst team. It was a tight game last time. I think it was shootout or overtime when they faced 2 nights ago. Tampa won then 4-3. But win probability is very, very high right now on the road team. Same applies for Pittsburgh playing in Buffalo. Again, over 70% win probability in our simulations. But in both of these cases, odds are beyond poor. So if you want to make money in the long run, these may not be the best picks that you should do night after night.
Yeah, I think here again the bets would be more against the lousy home teams than they are for the away teams. Of course, the road teams are a lot better in both cases, but Detroit and Buffalo both played really, well, let's say horrible hockey this season, especially Buffalo, a massive disappointment after getting Taylor Hall, and it somehow seemed that they might be up and coming, but nothing has worked for them. So Pittsburgh, on the other hand, now when the season has grown older, Yevgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby are getting their engines rolling. They've already played a couple of good games and probably only going to get better in the springtime when the playoff hockey is approaching. So these veterans are doing what is expected of them. Also a bit disappointing season in the early part, but yeah, Pittsburgh a clear favorites, like you said, 70% favorites by the simulations, while the odds are around 63%. So there is value if you want to bet these lousy odds, but we don't do that in our picks. And similar situation in Tampa Bay, 79% according to the simulations against the lousy Detroit team. So there are odds of minus 345 at the moment. So something that I would keep my arm's length away. But if you like these heavy favorites, then Tampa Bay, of course, one of the best teams in the league at the moment.
How about our statistical home team weirdness, Calgary? They won more games on the road than home, and that is very, very interesting in many cases. They are now getting Montreal in Saddledome, and Montreal plays back-to-back game. Their back-to-back track record on the road is around 36% during the last 3 seasons, while they have been able to win over 41% overall their road games. So as there is small value for home team, do you think Calgary can beat this curse of the Saddledome Arena?
Well, they do have an experienced new coach now at helm, so maybe there is a chance. We don't like Montreal that much in the simulations as we've seen previously. So we do have Calgary winning for 57%. while the odds are around 52. So there is value for the home team. But as we've seen in Saddledome, Calgary has not played well, but it's such an anomaly that I think it should get back to normality at some point. And in this case, with these odds, Calgary would be quite a good bet, because Montreal, even though they did beat Vancouver last night, they haven't been that impressive as they were early on the season. So I do not think that their level is as high. And then Calgary has been a disappointment, no question about that. So that's why there is a new head coach, or new old head coach, and let's see how they do.
Even though we haven't been so successful overall, or the machine hasn't been so successful in total bets, right now tonight there's a one game that total line is only 5. Islanders plays against New Jersey. Do you think that's worth to bet over, as currently 5 is very low odds for total, and it rarely exists?
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting to see an NHL game with a 5 as a total line. It's of course a little bit down the odds when you take the over, but according to the simulations, it's 61.5% going over 5 goals. So I think it is worth a punt here. Even if New York Islanders are a low scoring team, play very good defense, they have gotten their attack going in the previous game, so could also score a couple. New Jersey Devils, another a little bit of a disappointment. Not a lot of expectation, of course, going into the season. Young team, but they did do quite well. At some point, expectations got higher, and then they have been quite bad lately. So not heavy scoring teams, but 5 goals is such a low line. We're used to seeing that in Europe, in KHL maybe, especially come playoff time. But in NHL, 5 goals is such a low line that I would go for the over.
Yeah, and Islanders, when they played against Buffalo 3 games before beating Boston 2 nights ago, they won all those games 5-2. So exactly. They are able to score, but I think Devils' defense is a bit better than Buffalo's overall circus there. So they may face a bit tougher matchup to score 5 goals, but it's enough that they score 4 and Devils score 1 or 2.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good point. That Islanders did score a lot against Buffalo, but Buffalo's defense was all over the place. Devils probably are better in that regard. Interesting to see who is going to start for Devils in the goal. They've had a lot of issues in goaltending because of COVID, and then Mackenzie Blackwood has had some injury issues as well. So could be that there is Scott Wedgwood, another Wood, who is not that good an NHL keeper. So could be something to look into as well. If there is number 2 keepers, it's probably going to go even more over than the 5 goals.
Let's see how these games go, and who is the keeper in New Jersey Devils. There's also a lot of other games that we will naturally follow and recap those then tomorrow's video.
See you tomorrow.